Hello everybody, welcome back to video, and today I am reviewing John Wick Chapter 4. Let me just start off by saying, wow, just the John Wick movies in general are one of the most consistent movie franchises. This continues that with being maybe the best one. It's in contention. So already you know that we're off to a good foot here. But this is a very great movie. I love this movie. The action is incredible. We'll just start with that. Only issue with this movie I have when it comes to the action is the stair sequence. I do not like the stair sequence. It just kind of feels like it's there to add to the 2 hour and 50-minute runtime of this thing. Did this movie need to be that long? No. But almost every minute is earned. And so I think that that's a good thing. You get some incredible action sequences. With the exception of that stair sequence, I love the Paris action scene where all of the bad guys are trying to get John Wick. That is an incredible action sequence, particularly when they're at the giant arch. That is maybe the action highlight of the movie. I think that action-wise, this might be the best one. Parabellum comes close, but in terms of the action sequences, this is the best one of the series. So let's talk about the characters. So I guess we should start with John Wick, but I think considering the way this movie ends, I think it makes the most amount of sense to end with him. So let's talk about some of the other characters. Winston, I think this is Winston's biggest role in any of the movies, because literally in the last one, he sat in his vault while John Wick and the concierge took out all the bad guys. He was just sitting in his vault, drinking alcohol. This time, no, he has to get involved. And that is just incredible. I think that is really funny. He doesn't get to be in any action scenes, really, which is a little bit of a disappointment. But I think he's really good in this movie. I think this is his best performance. Concierge, I mean, first of all, I just want to quickly say, rest in peace to the guy that played him, Lance Reddick. It is sad that he died shortly before this was released, and it really makes his death at the beginning of the movie even sadder. I mean, I didn't know what they were going to do. I mean, I had heard a while ago that they were going to make a John Wick 5. And so I thought, well, I mean, they're going to have to do something off screen in between 4 and 5 with his character. But no, it outright happens at the beginning of the movie, which kind of makes sense, because with franchises ending, you gotta set the stakes. And so the concierge looking back at it, kind of makes sense why the concierge was their pick for the character to kill. Prominent, but not important for the story that they're telling. So I do quickly want to address one question that I had. What happened to the lady from the last movie? The bad guy of that one? Well, the evil woman. What happened to her? I thought the fact of her living would mean she'd have a role in this one. Nope. She's just not mentioned. Which is kind of weird considering she is the only main antagonist to make it out of their movie alive. Which honestly makes me think maybe she was supposed to be the marquee in this movie. But then scheduling conflicts, and so they had to change the role. I don't know, that's just something quick that I'm thinking about. But I guess we should actually talk about the main villain of the movie, the Marquis. Not physically one of the most intimidating villains that John Wick fights in the series, but definitely one of the more interesting ones because he is sort of the high table, but on steroids, because he is literally the one that's in charge of this whole thing to bring down John Wick. There's an interesting performance to Bill Skarsgård here. He's giving the Marquis. And I actually don't think I've seen him in anything else before. So it was interesting seeing this actor. It was definitely creepy in this role, and definitely very interesting, and also very arrogant, and that's what gets him in the end. Because this movie ultimately comes down to a duel. Because John Wick challenges the Marquis to single combat. And says, all right, look. Okay, he doesn't actually say this, but look. He said, John Wick basically says, I mean, I'm dead if you win. That's what you want. But if I win, I get my freedom. And then Winston adds in that he wants his hotel back. Because the Continental gets blown up as well. So, I think that's pretty fun. That Winston basically says, yeah, I want this. Yeah, I'm adding my own term in. But I think that the funniest part of the duel is the fact that the last second he's like, Bill Skarsgård, the Marquis, is thinking, I don't really want to do this. Well, I want you to die, but I'm not going to weaken you. So instead, I'm going to get your old buddy over here, Kane, to do it instead. Perfect segue into talking about Kane. So I thought it was fun to have an old friend of John Wick's involved in this one, because it kind of started with an old friend of John Wick. Willem Dafoe's character in the first movie was an old friend of John Wick that ultimately was trying to protect Wick, but died. Chen is reluctant to do this for the High Table. He does not want to kill John Wick. They're old friends. But if Kane does not kill John Wick, then his daughter dies, which immediately makes it to where he's not really a bad guy, because I mean, yeah, what he has to do is horrible, but it's what he has to do. He has to protect his daughter, and the only way he can do that is to kill John Wick. So I just think that that's interesting, and also adds another level for when Kane gets involved. Basically, the Marquis says, look, you do this, you win, your daughter is safe. We won't mess with you guys anymore. So, and that action sequence between them, while I don't like the stairs, I do like the climb back up the stairs, because that is a very good action sequence that shows off Kane and Wick fighting together. I haven't talked about Wick yet. I'm going to get to him at the end. But let's talk about the Bowery King for a second. I thought he was going to have a much bigger role in this movie. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have the biggest role. He shows up at the beginning of the movie to deliver an awesome monologue. That monologue is incredible. He shows up to give John Wick his new suit and gun. Sorry, he also shows up at the ruins of the Continental, and he shows up at the very end of the movie with Winston. That's pretty much his role, is he's a background player. But I do like the fact that so I think some people, myself included, were thinking that John Wick was going to get married in this movie, because because the Bowery King says man needs to look good when he's getting married or buried. Why he brings up marriage, I have no idea. Maybe it was there to troll people on the internet. I don't know. right, let's talk about Mr. Nobody. No, not Kurt Russell from The Fast and the Furious, although that would be awesome. Why wasn't he helping the Fast and Furious team when they went to space? Because he was trying to take down John Wick. That would actually be an incredible fight, but no, this is just someone else who calls himself Mr. Nobody. And what is interesting about him is he's not really agreeing with either side. He's sort of the closest thing this movie has to a neutral character. Basically, he says, "Look, John Wick, I'm gonna kill you when the price is right, but that's not now, because the movie starts with it being about 20 million. This guy wants 50. He says, I'm gonna help you until I think the price is right for you to die." Also, Mr. Nobody has the best dog in the series. That dog's absolutely incredible. But I mean, that's an interesting idea for a new spinoff, is what else that character gets up to. So I guess now let's talk about John Wick. So I've saved him for the end because it's his movie. It's also his death. Because, yeah, I don't know. My thought is he could be dead. It's kind of 50-50. But apparently the main reason Keanu Reeves wanted to do this was to do the death of John Wick. My only issue is that he has been shown to survive wounds like that. Worse than that, and other characters have been shown to survive worse wounds. I mean, I guess it's possible that all the damage from the movie just added up. I don't know. But either way, I mean, I think this is Keanu Reeves' best performance in the series, which is extremely weird because he only says 380 words in this whole thing, apparently. Which is really crazy to think about. I mean, in this review, I've probably already said more than Keanu Reeves says in the movie. But one thing I do not like about the death of John Wick is it is not subtle at all that that's how this movie is going to end. They kind of beat you over the head with the fact, hey, he's going to die. This is his end. This is how the movie ends. That is just, I was just thinking, wow. I was able to predict he was going to die about halfway through. But I like the fact that, before the Paris action sequence, he says on his tombstone, he doesn't want, the people that he's killed. He wants to be remembered for the best time of his life, when he was married to Helen. He wants the words, loving husband, written on his tombstone, which shows he does not want to be remembered as John Wick, the killer. He wants to be remembered for this much shorter period of time that he had, the happiest time of his life. Which is just, I think that's really interesting. And so it actually really makes sense that when he dies, the last thing that he thinks about and his last words are his deceased wife. It makes for a really good death scene. And then that final sequence of the movie, of the Bowery King and Winston in the graveyard. I love the fact that there is no clear answer to where do you think he went? Where do you think he is now? I think that's supposed to be up to the audience. But the absolute saddest part of this whole movie is when Winston, right at the end of the movie, puts his hand on the tombstone and says, "Farewell, my son." That is just sad. There's also a post-credit scene. So, yeah. It's basically showing... Oh, shit, I didn't even talk about the Osaka sequence. The Osaka sequence is pretty cool. And basically another old friend of John Wick's unfortunately perishes at the hands of Kane. Why was I thinking Chen? Kane. And so that guy's daughter goes and kills Kane at the end of the movie. So, that, or maybe. Okay, so this is not the last installment of the John Wick universe, as The Continental is supposed to be upcoming, and if I was to make a prediction, I think that movie is going to end with some kind of John Wick cameo, maybe a flashback to him being adopted. But Keanu Reeves himself apparently will reprise the role one last time in The Ballerina, which is a spin-off set between Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, I honestly think this movie is really good. Is it the best John Wick movie? Maybe. It's a strong contender. If it's not number one, I mean, it's probably a close second. It's really between this and Parabellum. But, yeah, I'm going to give this movie, you know what? I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. No, stair sequence. Does the stair sequence mean this doesn't get a 10 out of 10? Because it's got great plot, great action, great characters, great performance, great effects, great stunt work. You know what? Yeah, this is a 10 out of 10. John Wick Chapter 4 is a 10 out of 10 movie that I absolutely love. I would highly recommend it. But that is it for this video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.